As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and geek out about games we played back in the day. You guys know how it works by now. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening. This week it is episode 74, and we are going back to 1989. I fucking love it when we talk games in the 80s. That's just because it's pretty soon it's going to be 2020, and that's like fucking 40 years. Anyway, Super Mario Land for the Nintendo Game Boy. One of the original Mario, I guess not one of the original Mario games, but it is as old school as it gets. I'm really excited to talk. We don't talk enough Game Boy on this show. Something we need to rectify. So we're talking Super Mario Land this week. My pal Patrick McGrath is here to talk with me. Before we do that, you guys know I am going to ramble. If by some chance you don't want to listen to the rambling, which is going to include a majority of the rambling this week is going to be an apology to Microsoft. And if you by some chance don't want to listen to that, look in the description box below. There will be a timestamp telling you what to skip to if you just came here to listen to Patrick and I talk about Super Mario Land. But before we do that, you guys know I'm going to get my talking in. Last week, I mentioned that, quickly, I just want to give a shout out, and I had it ready. This is the second time I've already tried to record this because the first time my goddamn phone volume wasn't off and it fucked it all up. Shout out to one of our new Patreons, Mr. Andy Baker. Andy, thanks for signing up. I don't believe I gave you a shout out last week. I think you came in just under the bell from my production last week. So if I did give you a shout out, then you get two. But thanks for signing up, man. And you guys can sign up too if you want. There's going to be my first segue over at patreon.com/rememberthegame. It's the only time I'm going to plug it on this episode. Thank you so much for supporting it, everyone that did or does. Your second bonus episode for November just went live, and that was Mark McHugh and I talking about Celeste, one of the best goddamn video games released in years. You guys can find that along with all the other bonus episodes. There is 10 of them now, 5 game reviews and 5 Q&A rambling ones over at patreon.com/rememberthegame. It's only $2 a month. Quick note, you guys, if you want to get in on the prize draw that we do over there every month, the deadline to sign up for the Patreon is December 3rd. And honestly, I would suggest it charges cards that sign up the first of every month, but it also charges you the day you sign up, so you get access to podcasts right away. So if you sign up, in the last couple of days of November, you're going to get charged then, and you're going to get charged again on December 1st. So if you really want them, maybe wait till December 1st. That's why I'm putting the deadline back a couple of days, so people don't have to beat it, get in, and then get charged twice in like 48 hours. So, December 1st to December 3rd, you can sneak in there. Be a nice Christmas present for you or somebody, whatever. Anyway, there's your Patreon plugs. I'm done with it. I promise I won't push it down your throats anymore. So last week we gave Donkey Kong Country a happy birthday shout out because it was its 25th birthday, and it is one of the best damn video games of all time. Turns out I missed another birthday from the same day. My pal Finn reached out and let me know it was also Smash Brothers Melee's birthday. It sounds weird when you put the plural on the melees. But it was also the birthday of Smash Brothers Melee. And though that game came out, it's 18 now. It came out 18 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. We covered that game all the way back in episode 22. So happy birthday to Smash Brothers Melee. I am not going to make a fucking tradition out of wishing happy birthday to every goddamn video game that came out the day that I'm releasing these episodes. I just really had to give a shout out to Donkey Kong Country because it is a masterpiece. And then some people got mad that I didn't give a shout out to Smash Brothers Melee because it is also very good. It is not a fucking masterpiece. Donkey Kong Country is. Don't come at me with that shit. It's good. It is not a masterpiece. So happy birthday to that. Also, by the time you guys hear this, we will be at 20,000 downloads, which is insane to me. My goal was to hit 20,000 downloads by episode 100, and we hit it by episode 73. So that is fucking awesome. So I guess the goal now is like 40,000, I guess, by episode. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I just, it's so cool to fucking see it growing. And a lot of the reason it's growing, like 90% of the reason it's growing is because of you beautiful people out there leaving us good reviews and sharing our posts and telling your friends. And thank you all so much for listening. Fucking so rad. Okay, so that's enough of talking about me and talking about the podcast. I am going to get right into the beef of the rambling this week, which starts with the fact that Black Friday is upon us. And maybe this is going to make me sound ignorant or stupid. I don't know if Black Friday is around the world. I know I've got some listeners over in Europe and Australia and on the other side of the country and in all those other cool places. If it is, I could just Google it. But yeah, I don't know. Yell at me on Twitter and stuff. Let me know I don't know if it's Black Friday everywhere or not. I'm an ignorant Canadian living up here in northern Canada where we barely have running water and everything's just frozen and I don't know stuff. But Black Friday is upon us. It's a big Black Friday week. It's a huge shopping week. I've already bought something, which I'm going to get into in a second. But I mean, so a couple of things I wanted to touch on. The first thing is that like EB Games, that's our GameStops here, Best Buy, PlayStation Store, Xbox Live or whatever the fuck, Xbox Gold, Amazon, Walmart, all those places have their sales up already. It's become it went from a one-day thing to a week-long thing. There's so many crazy deals out there. Most of them price match each other. So it really comes down to where do you want to shop from? Do you want to go digital? Do you want to go physical? Do you want to buy it online? Do you want to go to a store to buy it? I'm very cheap. Very, very cheap. I'm not traditionally a wait for Black Friday guy on everything, but I always get excited for this weekend just because it's you can take $50 or $60 and get 2 or 3 really good games usually that you've been waiting on and stock up and carry yourself through to the early next year. So I always get excited just to look at the flyers. I don't even have a PS4 anymore. And I still love looking at the PlayStation sales. I love the PlayStation Store, man. There's so much on there. The sales they drop are always fucking awesome. Also, here's a little money-saving hint for all my friends out there. Keep an eye out for Xbox Gold, PlayStation Plus, and Nintendo Online cards. Sometimes some of those... I haven't seen a Nintendo one go on sale yet, but I know some of the other ones do. And it could be a great chance. You stock up. You don't have to use them all at once. Just stock up, keep the codes in your back pocket, and save yourself some money in the long term. One of the things I wanted to point out when it comes to the sales is that fucking Nintendo hasn't announced anything yet, on the eShop. I know there's a couple of sales on there and a couple of the companies they work with have announced sales, but Nintendo themselves haven't. And it's just is that not just classic fucking Nintendo? And I don't understand why they're waiting because all the other companies have their sales out there. People only have so much money to spend, right? I mean, I was just literally just an hour ago, I was looking at the EB Games Black Friday sale here, and and half of the Nintendo games aren't even on sale. They're literally on page 3. They're advertising Luigi's Mansion 3, Link's Awakening Remake, and Smash Brothers. And Smash Brothers is a year old, and they're all $79.99. They're all full price, no sale. Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, which I think most people would agree are the 2 cornerstones of the Nintendo Switch, are $20 off. And those games are years old now. And that's like, I love that and I hate it because I love the fact that Nintendo is like, yo, our games are fucking top shelf and we don't have to discount them because this is the only place you can get them and people will buy them. And the fact that they never really put these games on these huge sales to me says that, yeah, people do buy them because if no one was buying them, they would be discounting them. So I think that's a baller move and I respect it. And frankly, the quality of the games is there for them to be like, no, our games are really good. We don't have to discount them. Fuck off. But I hate it partially because I'm a gamer and a Nintendo fan who's like, come on. Like it's like Super Mario Brothers Deluxe, U Deluxe, whatever the fuck it is. And Toad's Treasure Tracker. These are Nintendo games that I really want to play that I don't want to spend $85 on or whatever they are, like full pop. I'm like, you can't give us some kind of fucking discount, and maybe they will, but they haven't announced anything yet because they still haven't put their goddamn eShop sales up. There goes my dog. I'm yelling. It's okay, buddy. I just don't like fucking Nintendo. Like, they're like that, aren't they? They're like this stubborn old man of the fucking gaming. They are the old man of the gaming industry. And they're like, they see what PlayStation is doing and Xbox is doing with their great onlines and all their sales and stuff. And they're like, nah, we've got good games. We don't need super powerful systems and sales and stuff. Fuck them. We're going to do us. And it clearly is working for them. It just irritates me. And I don't know why they haven't, like, you don't even have to put the eShop sales alive yet. But like Nintendo Europe has announced their eShop sales. Nintendo of America hasn't. And there's a lot of people, myself included, that only have a certain amount of money to spend on video games. And if you don't put your sales out there, we're going to go out and spend our money on other things, which is what I have done. And that is where our big segue comes into. I've been teasing it on Instagram and stuff. It was also recently the 18th birthday of the original Xbox. And I have said it on here before. You guys know I'm a Nintendo guy. I'm a Nintendo fanboy through and through. But the Xbox 360 is probably my favorite non-Nintendo console of all time. I adored that system. I also really liked my original Xbox. I had an Xbox One for a couple of months. I beat Gears of War 4 on it, and then I sold it because I had a PS4 too, and I just wasn't playing. There's no need for both. And let's be honest, PlayStation's got the better exclusives out of those two systems, right? I mean, just Last of Us, Uncharted, and MLB The Show is enough to get me to go to PlayStation. But I eventually sold my PS4 as well because, I was playing too much. Xbox, their all-digital Xbox One was on sale here in Canada for Black Friday. It's still on sale right now. The all-digital one, no disc drive, all-digital for $179 Canadian. And that is a fucking smoking price for new hardware. The cheapest PS4 I've seen has been $250, which has also been the cheapest Xbox One I've seen with a disc drive. PlayStation doesn't have an all-digital one. And if anyone that listens to this knows, I prefer to go digital with my games whenever possible. It's just me. It's cleaner, it's quicker. I prefer it. I bought myself an Xbox One. I was on the fence because I was like, dude, if I get one of these consoles to go with my Switch, because I think there's absolutely an argument to be made to have a Nintendo Switch and then one of an Xbox or a PS4 or I guess a PC. I'm not a PC guy, you guys know it, because they complement each other very well. Nintendo's got those exclusives nobody else has. You got the portability in the Switch, but there's just something about having that fucking Haas powerhouse machine under your television, and I miss that, not having a PS4 and Xbox One. And I was leaning toward getting a PS4 because I want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. I want to play Last of Us 2. But $179 was hard to turn down. It came with 3 games, Forza, Sea of Thieves, and Minecraft. I haven't even downloaded any of them yet because it also comes with Game Pass. And listen, I know some of you out there may know what Game Pass is, and I know some of you may not. Bradley McHugh, loyal listener to the show, pal of mine, was pushing Game Pass on me, and I've just kind of shrugged it off. I've never really paid a lot of attention. Anyone that's been listening to the show for any regularity knows that, like, I don't want to say I straight up shit on Xbox regularly, but like, remember when they were talking about Nintendo and Xbox teaming up, and they've still, like, that rumor's still out there that Game Pass was going to show up on the Switch, and then it never really did. It never did. Xbox got their asses kicked this generation, and I was like, what do they have to make themselves relevant? PlayStation's got great exclusives and an insane install base of 100 million units. The Switch has its own little thing going on. I was like, what does Xbox have? What do they got going for them? If you're not a Halo and Gears fan, what have they got? You guys, Xbox has Game Pass. If you don't know what Game Pass is, I got 3 months of it for $1 to sign up. After that, I think it's like, for the basic one, the one I want, because I don't need the ultimate one. I think it's like $15 a month or $12 a month Canadian or something. And Game Pass is like 100+ games, including fucking brand new games like the Outer Worlds are on there. Anything that's first party Xbox, so like or Microsoft, so like all the Gears of War, all the Halos are on there. Rare is all on there. There are so many insane games on this thing, and you just can download and play whatever you want. It's the fucking wildest. And as long as you keep your Game Pass active, much like you would with your PlayStation Now or your PlayStation Plus, your Nintendo Online, your Xbox Gold, whatever, you can keep playing these games. Blows me away. I feel like such a moron that I didn't pay any attention to it sitting there. I was like, that doesn't interest me. Because I had a PlayStation 4 when PlayStation Now launched. And again, didn't really interest me. Looks like PlayStation Now has really improved as well. But they're not putting those big, heavy-hitting games on right at day one like Xbox is. So for $1 for the next 3 months, I can play the Outer Worlds on my Xbox. I downloaded a dozen games last night when I got it hooked up, including Gears of War 5, which I can't wait to play, including Halo. Off the top of my head, Ori and the Blind Forest I downloaded. I'm flustered. There was so much. I was like, this is fucking insane. So when I keep saying, what does Xbox have for them, going for them, if you're not into that, the Halo and stuff, that like, why would people buy it over the PlayStation 4? It has Game Pass. And I'll be honest with you guys, like I went from ignoring the Xbox Scarlet or whatever the fuck the new Xbox is going to be called and making fun of it on the show to being like, hey, you know what? I may buy one of those things, particularly if they release an all digital one that's cheaper again. I am so excited to get my hands on this thing. Once I'm done Pokemon Sword and Shield for my Switch, I don't have any Switch games left to play for a little while. I got a bunch of retro stuff that I want to play for this show, which I need to make more of a conscious effort to play and get some more games under my belt to record for this podcast. But I was like, I don't have more current games to play. And I fired up the Xbox One and started playing the Outer Worlds the other night and forgot just how much I missed having that fucking beast of a system beside my TV in fucking HD glory, just ready to go. And I'm so happy I bought this thing and so excited for Game Pass. I apologize, Microsoft. I am fucking sorry. Okay, I should not have made fun of you. I feel like they're an old friend that I've made up with because I loved my Xbox 360. I made fun of the Xbox One, and now I'm like, I'm on the road all week this week. I'm recording this thing on a Monday afternoon. Because I'm literally on the road all week doing comedy shows. I'm not going to see my own bed again until Sunday. And I think I'm going to take my Xbox One with me. Like, I was going to just take my Switch and play Pokemon, but I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to take my Xbox One now, too, because I got so much on here that I cannot wait to sink my teeth into and play. If it sounds like I'm like, oh, Banjo-Kazooie. The Banjo-Kazooie games are on there, right? The Rare Replay games. So, like, expect an episode of this podcast on Banjo-Kazooie in the future, because I never played that on the Nintendo 64, but now I've got it sitting right there waiting to play on my Xbox. Holy fuck, I'm so excited, you guys. I don't know if that's coming. I have to assume it's coming through in my voice. This podcast is no longer just a Nintendo home. We are going to be talking some Xbox on here. And admittedly, having the Xbox under my TV has me jonesing to get my hands on a PS4 again, because I know that the PlayStation 4 is a boss. I had a couple of people reach out to me once and say they've stopped listening to my podcast because they feel like I'm too negative toward PlayStation, which I've never really felt. I was incredibly negative toward the PS Classic. But I feel like I've always been pretty, like, hey, dude, PlayStation is the undisputed king right now, and I'm not stupid. I'm not going to take that away from them at all. And I loved my PS4. I just sold it because I was playing too much. But I'm so happy right now and so ecstatic that I spent the money on this Xbox. And once I fired up Game Pass and was like, really? I can play all of it? Like, whew. Fucking awesome. So Microsoft, hats off to you. Now I get what all three consoles have going for them in the next generation. And I still don't know if you're going to be able to stand up to PlayStation. Nintendo obviously has their own weird thing going on with the Switch. They've got their exclusive games. They're going to be fine. The PlayStation is the undisputed heavyweight champion of video games right now with some incredible first-party games like, again, Last of Us, Final Fantasy VII. They've got the biggest install base in the market today. The Xbox has Game Pass going for it. I don't know. Maybe I'm oblivious, but I feel like they should be pushing this thing a little bit harder on people, because I'm like, dude, there's a great system seller here in Game Pass. Like, you have got a customer back in me. This thing is fucking awesome. Just get some more good first party games. Like, I mean, as cool as Halo and Gears are, like, get us some more first party stuff. But yeah, feeling great. I'm going to fucking stop now and we're going to get to Super Mario Land. I feel like I have made my peace. I have apologized to Microsoft. We're friends again. I'm excited. Be excited as well. Let me know what you guys are going to pick up on Black Friday. You can reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram at memberthegame. You guys know I'd love to chat with you on there. I want to see what you got with your Black Friday hauls. I'll be posting about it on there. But that's enough of that. Let's get to this, which is Super Mario Land, okay? Episode 74 of the podcast. I will never get tired of talking Mario games and platformers. You guys all know that. I'm a Mario fanatic, and I have so many great memories of playing Super Mario Land on my old green and black Game Boy as a kid in the back of my car. Fucking trip to talk about this game. I love the music. You guys heard that song off the top. I'm going to cue some more music up right now, and I am going to talk Super Mario Land with my man Patrick McGrath, who's a Game Boy fanatic, you guys. This game came out on August 1st, 1989. For all you fucking kids out there, that is a long-ass time ago. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to listen to the music that's under my voice right now, so I'm going to shut the fuck up. Kick back, relax, you guys. Episode 74, Super Mario Land. Here we go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. You literally just said it, and then I was like, oh shit, okay, we should be recording because we should be talking about this. Yeah. I get nervous on some of these episodes because I'm afraid I don't know the game well enough and people are going to get mad. Yeah. So I will have already said in the intro, but my guest this week of Resident Evil 4 and Earthworm Jim, among other episode fame, is my man Patrick McGrath. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
And so this week we're talking Super Mario Land. And I get what you're saying, because you were even saying when you walked in, you're like, I feel like I need to know a little bit about the game and just kind of know what I'm talking about. And I feel like that too.
Yeah.
But I'm like, at the same time, I have to imagine if you're listening to this right now, you've come to expect that I don't know what I'm talking about. And sometimes the guest does, and sometimes the guest doesn't.
Yeah.
And so it's just, there's been a couple episodes where we've caught shit because I haven't been as like dude, the Pokemon Red and Blue episode, I took fucking heat.
Yeah.
Heat for that game. So this one, I think we're good. There's not enough here to really brush up on. Mm-hmm. So I just dropped it. So you just said that you played it literally like 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
What'd you play it on?
My Game Boy. Yeah.
Oh, you still have the original cart?
Yeah. Oh. Like we talked about, I don't know if the collector's episode has gone up yet.
It has, yeah.
Okay, so we talked about how Game Boy games are the only thing I still collect. And
right.
So I have like a custom Game Boy, a shit ton of Game Boy games. So I just popped it in and played it. Played through it like 45 minutes, an hour.
That's sick.
Start to finish.
Like OG, like green and black.
Mine's like a blue LED screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like a little bit nicer backlit. It's like a double inversion, so you can like actually see it and play it in all light
that
and
okay,
dark.
So then I'll ask that if you can actually see it, because like I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Like Super Mario Land is not the most attractive video game
No,
ever made. In fact, it probably is the ugliest Mario game.
It's pretty rough.
It has to be. But like, does it like when you're playing it today? Like I don't know when this game came out, but it came out with the Game Boy. So that's a long. That's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Is it ugly?
It's ugly, but it's beautiful ugly because it holds such a special place for me. Like I have such a distinct time and place memory of playing this game, and like it's so unlike any other Mario game. It's not just like a smaller version of Mario. It was like a completely recreated world and enemies that some of them mirrored what was in the other Mario games, but some of them are completely like the chicken character.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen that again.
This game always fascinated me as a kid because, like, I mean, I played Super Mario Bros. Right? Like, I mean, I never really played Mario Bros. 2 that much as a kid because we didn't own it. But then Mario Bros. 3, obviously, right? And I remember getting my Game Boy and I got Tetris, as we all did, and then Super Mario Land.
Yeah.
And I remember playing Super Mario Land, and it was fine because it was Mario on the go.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was just like, hey, we have a Mario game that we can take anywhere. Like,
it was great.
I don't care how good it is; it's fine. This is a weird fucking game.
It is really weird, and one thing I
Why?
remember distinctly, like as a kid, my memory of it is it felt a lot bigger of a game. Like it felt like a lot more to it.
Yeah.
It felt like this whole other universe. Like I didn't understand why there was like spaceships and alien type characters,
Submarines and
like,
shit.
Yeah. But I play it now, and it's like it's 4 worlds, 3 levels each. Like it's so small. Like,
Right.
Like I blasted through it in an hour. But I mean, I had that game my whole life as a kid, and I don't think I beat it until I was much older.
Yeah, dude, I remember playing it on like car trips and never finishing it.
That's exactly where I got this game. So when my parents moved from Nova Scotia to Alberta, that's what they gave us. They bought me and my brother Game Boy, a Tetris, Mario, and a handful of other games, and it was just like a 7-day drive across the country.
Fuck.
And the whole time was just like Mario, Krusty's Funhouse, like
Yeah.
Tetris, like a few other Cool World, like some really awful games. But Mario was just like that one that I would continually pick up and play all the time. And then like seeing like Mario Land 2, which I know you've done an episode about, is just like that game's great too.
Yeah,
Like,
dude. So that's something that interested me, and that's one of the first notes I made about this. Is like my first thought is like, why didn't they just port Super Mario Bros? Because like when you look at the and I think there's a reason for it. Because like when you look at the Game Boy, like you look at Super Mario Land 2. Super Mario Land 2 looks better than Super Mario Bros on the NES, minus the color, obviously. So clearly the Game Boy was capable of running a better looking game.
Yeah, but do you know what year Super Mario 2 came out?
I don't.
Okay, I don't know offhand either. But I mean, for 1989, like the Game Boy just came out.
Yeah.
It's a game that like they couldn't, because I was just literally watching some stuff about this yesterday. They couldn't just straight port it because of the limitations. So that's like the reasons why there's no distinction between like power-up mushrooms and one-up mushrooms. That's why they're hearts.
They're hearts,
because
yeah.
they physically couldn't make that distinction anyway in the game.
That makes sense.
And,
I
and
suppose.
they didn't realize the full potential of the Game Boy yet. Like there's no like battery saves.
Yeah.
Like nothing on it really. They were just like, how do we create something similar? And I mean, for what they were working with and what was happening at the time, I think it was a great game.
I do too. I like that was my thought, because my first thought again was like, well, why didn't they just port the original? And then I got thinking there's two things. One is I'm sure that stuff like the one-up mushrooms and shit like that. And then the second thing is like, yeah, when the Game Boy first, because this was a launch title for the Game Boy, right?
Yeah.
And so they're like, we don't know what this thing can do. It's the same as you could literally look at Super Mario Brothers, the original, and Super Mario Brothers 3 and be like, well, why didn't it look like that from the start?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to learn. So I understand it. But like it is fucking ugly, man. Like it plays good.
Yep.
It plays weird.
It does. It plays weird. The controls are very strange. And this is a tribute to why I think as a kid it was so tough for me, is it's very like, there's no, the movement's very, very blocky. It's just like if you jump and you try to move in the air while jumping, you're not going to go as far as if you were moving while jumping to begin with. So there's a lot of like those,
like momentum.
Exactly. Like a lot, especially in like first Mario and in Mario 3, you can like speed run where you're like running and quick time just tapping, reactionary playing the game. But this game, it's really hard to do that because it's it really punishing in those moments if you're not continually moving forward as soon as you lose that momentum.
Yeah.
And I found that even today I was playing and there was areas where I knew I got caught up as a kid where I wasted like 7 lives trying to make the same jump because the platform was so small and then the next one had like a turtle on it. And if I made it, I would hit the turtle or I couldn't get far enough across or whatever it was. I'd miss the platform and just die.
Yeah, it's interesting because like Mario, I don't know how many Mario platformers as a whole there is. There's got to be like 15 or 20 of them now. And like he's for the most part felt the same or close. Like he's very floaty. Yeah. His jump, like we all know that Mario jump feeling. And this one, like it almost feels like he's wearing like gravity boots or something. Like as he jumps, it almost feels like the screen is pulling him down. And you're right. Like that, I remember that as a kid. I remember that now because I've finished this game before. But it still fucks with me. Like it just doesn't feel like Mario. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you didn't tell me this was a Mario game, you would be able to like pass it off as a non-Mario game. Because I mean, it's not just the controls. The controls are kind of weird. Obviously, the graphics are kind of weird because it is what the Game Boy could fucking do in '89. But just like, I mean, like you're not in the Mushroom Kingdom.
No, you're in a completely different world.
Yeah, it's Sarasaland.
Sarasaland.
You're not saving Princess Toadstool / I mean, back then she was Toadstool for all you kids today. But Princess Peach, you're saving Daisy. And it's like, who the fuck is Daisy? Yeah. You're not fighting Bowser or Wart. You're fighting this alien thing.
Yeah,
Tatanga.
Yeah.
Like, all these things have changed, and it's like, this isn't Mario. What the fuck?
Even all the enemies, like, I don't know what the actual names are for them, but like all the Goombas, all the turtles, none of those are named the way they are in Mario. They're all named, like, they've all got crazy, weird names.
It's so funky, because, like, I mean, Super Mario Brothers 2 obviously was completely different. And like, go back and listen to the episode if you want all the details as to why. But they basically explained it as it was a dream. And at the end, Mario woke up. And it was like all bad, like a weird dream, right? And they never did that with this one.
No, this was the reason it's called Super Mario Land is because they gave him a whole new land, a whole new universe that he was transported to this land that's been taken over by this alien.
Yeah,
and,
And I guess like it seems so insane to me that you wouldn't just run Bowser, but I guess at that time they haven't really established the Mushroom Kingdom and Bowser, and like he was still King Koopa back then. He wasn't even Bowser necessarily.
Was Mario 3 out by this point? I think so. This game I know was made without Miyamoto.
Oh, look, yeah, that
and I think he was working on Mario 3 at the time,
and that blew my mind. You know, we both like right off the top we mentioned that we don't do a ton of homework for this game, but I like to do just a touch now, and it all like all these pieces of the puzzle fell into place when I saw that Miyamoto wasn't involved in it. I was like, oh, just like Link's Awakening. When we did the Link's Awakening episode, we found out that like, so it came out in North America. Mario 3 came out in North America in 1990. Okay, so it would have been post Mario Land. Yeah. So I guess at that point, he's really only done Mario Brothers 1 in North America. Yeah. Mario Brothers 2, he fought Wart, and so at that point, he hasn't even fought with Bowser again since the very first one. It does seem insane to me that you would not have Bowser. There's no Luigi. There's no Princess Peach. There's nothing. The Goombas, or not the Goombas, the Koopa Troopas blow up.
Yeah, they turn into bombs.
Right, which is so fucking weird.
Those weird mosquito enemies.
Oh,
the weird like robot characters where their head comes off and flies around.
Yeah.
All the Stonehenge guys, the Easter Island heads.
Yeah, because that's another thing is like the world's you're in like a desert. And,
it's so weird.
And then you're in like water with like a submarine at one point. You're at like Stonehenge or fucking something. Like,
and then you're in just like some kind of like Chinese land. Like so the fourth world is so strange to me.
Like I have to assume that they did that because they don't have color. Like I mean, with colors, it's just like, oh well, World 1 is the grass. Sure. World 2 is the desert. You know, World 5 is ice. You know what I mean? And you just change out the color of the background and shit, and it works. When you've only got one color to work with, I guess you have to kind of
visually make it. Yeah,
there's try to make them distinct.
There's like heavy like tropical themes, heavy like Egyptian levels and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like just really weird stuff.
The Stonehenge thing I always found very, very weird.
Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck is like? Those, I don't even know if Stonehenge is the right word, but like those giant rock heads,
like Easter Island stuff.
Yeah, so odd. Yeah. And then like you said, there's only 12 levels, and in one of them you're in a plane. I think at least one of them.
So that's the last level. So so there's the submarine level. That's the boss in the second
world, I think. Yeah.
And then in the fourth is the airplane.
Right. And so even that,
I liked those though.
I do too.
It was a nice like breakup from the game.
Yeah,
I
100%.
did really enjoy it.
It's just odd that
It
like,
is really weird.
so Mario, Mr. Run and Jump, is got vehicles that shoot stuff, and that's what he's in now.
Yeah.
Like it's like, so you go back to Mario 3 and you're like, well, where the fuck is the submarine? Because this would be much
right.
easier.
He's just like swimming through the water.
I
in
know.
Mario 3.
I'm very shocked that they didn't just explain it as like a dream, or explain it at like, and it's crazy because like Mario Brothers 2, it was a dream. And so it's all a dream. Link's Awakening is the weird Link game, or Zelda game, whatever you want to call it. And it turns out that it's a dream, or you think it's a dream because like you wake up, right? This one, it was like, no, he just got like he saw like a fucking fax that Daisy was kidnapped and was like, oh, I got to go save her now too.
There's aliens taking over this land.
Never explained anything. It like,
But what about Mario 2? That's the same thing. Mario Land 2. It's like, it's a weird universe.
it is a weird universe.
It's actually considerably stranger than this one.
It is. Like, I mean, I guess they like, I would love to know what their thought process was. They were like, we've got, because like at this point, Nintendo was the house that Mario built. Like Mario is fucking everywhere. So I mean, it totally makes sense to make a Mario game and put it on your new portable system to sell it, like unquestionably.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I was so excited to get my hands on. I mean, I don't know about yourself personally. Like when I look back on the game, like we've only done 2 Game Boy episodes,
Right?
In like, by the time this episode goes live, I don't know what number it'll be, but we've done 2 Game Boy episodes,
Right.
and that was Pokemon and Link's Awakening, and we've got the Mario Land 2 in the bank and stuff like that. When I think of the Game Boy, I think of Pokemon, I think of Link's Awakening, and I think of Tetris. Like those are the 3 I think of before I think of Mario, which is insane to me.
So I think of Mario 2. Like that was just such a huge game for that time period for me.
The 6 golden coins.
Yeah.
And I liked that game too. I never owned that one until I was later.
That game's perfect.
It's pretty rad. Plus it introduces my man Wario.
Yeah.
And
even Mario Land 3 where you play as Wario. Like I love that game too.
I struggled with that one. I love Wario, dude. Like he is in my 3 or 4 favorite characters, but I just couldn't. It was too big. It felt weird. It just felt fucking weird to me. Yeah. But like I'm very, I mean, like when you think of like the NES Classic is sitting right there on my shelf, and it's like one of the first games I played on it was Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, because I've bought that game so many times. Whereas I don't feel that inclining to play Super Mario Land over and over again. And I'm not sure why, because I grew up owning it. I've beaten it. I've played it. Yeah. I don't know what it is about it. I'm like, I get that it almost feels like
it's nobody's favorite Mario, I would assume.
Fuck no. And if it is, you've never played another Mario. But like it almost, like looking back on it, it almost feels like a tech demo for the Game Boy that you had to pay money for. Like it just, you know what I mean? Like it just.
And they were originally, it was supposed to be bundled with the system too. So there could be that aspect of it. It's just like, here's a weird short game that we're going to give with the system. And then they felt Tetris would appeal to more audiences to sell the system.
And obviously,
it's like the 4th highest selling Game Boy game of all time, and like 7th highest Mario selling game of all time.
I'd believe
it's got like
that.
some crazy high stats.
I'd believe that, because I mean I have to assume that when the Game Boy, because you're right, dude. Like the game, I would love to do an episode of this show on the Game Boy at some point. Like that was a phenomenon in itself, right? And I mean, in Tetris, obviously. Like credit given, I'm a Tetris diehard, but Tetris, credit given where it's due. Tetris is the fucking camel that pulled that wagon. Like the Game Boy blew up because everyone wanted to play Tetris on the go. But I think for like myself, yourself, most of the people our age that grew up with a Game Boy, like you can only play Tetris for so long. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, like here's your Mario. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it makes. I never thought of that. Why they didn't package this game with it instead of Tetris? But you saying that makes complete sense. Yeah. Some businessman that thinks video games are stupid isn't going to buy a Game Boy to play Super Mario Land, but he can play this like smart, I use air quotes, like challenging puzzle game. Maybe he'll buy it for that. So that makes sense to me, I guess. So maybe that was the original plans. It was going to be a pack in, so it's a cheap, quick demo.
I think it's much more successful for them to have done it that way than to have launched with Mario or bundled with Mario and then launched with Tetris as well, because I couldn't see a lot of people buying another game like Tetris as opposed to owning Tetris and the system already, loving it, and then buying a Mario game.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is it fuck, do you remember the days when you could buy a console and it came with a game? Yeah. Like those are just like just thinking about that, fuck me, that was so good. Like now you buy a console and then be ready to drop another $80.
Yeah. I mean, they still do that too. Like there's still bundles that come out with games all the time, right?
But it just like it just at one point that was just that's how it worked.
It was all every base unit.
Right.
Was, yeah.
The Genesis came with Sonic, and Nintendo came with Mario, and fucking weird, man. What a weird game. No Miyamoto, 12 levels. You drive an airplane and a submarine. You fucking rescue Daisy from Tatanga in Sarasa Land. Like when you say that, like none of that makes any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Another thing that I found, actually, I really liked, is that when you got a flower, you didn't get. I don't know if they ever actually said if it was a fireball. It was a super ball, and it was just like a rubber ball,
a bouncy ball. Yeah.
That I loved that mechanic, dude, because that thing was badass.
Yeah.
I wish they would bring that back.
Yeah, I really did enjoy that. Even playing it now, it's like the parts later on where it becomes useful when you're like dealing with a lot of like piranha plants and stuff where they're coming from the ceiling and you just shoot one down and you can take out a few of them with one shot. Like, it's great.
I wonder why they did that. Like, instead of just giving you like because they clearly got the bounce mechanic down. Yeah. I mean, I'm very like, I almost like, did Miyamoto fucking go to them and be like, hey, listen, like, you can't use any of my stuff?
No,
like, I don't like.
So from what I understand, it was created by Nintendo's like oldest like research and development team. Yeah. And the guy who spearheaded it was like, he had collaborated with Miyamoto on a lot of designs, and like Miyamoto says that he is the person who influenced him the most in what Mario ends up looking like. So I think this guy kind of felt like maybe he had the free reins to do something different. But again, they were going with this idea of like, it's a whole new land for him to explore.
Right.
So like, we can't just repackage all this stuff that he had before.
Right. I guess that,
So I don't know if that's the thought process on there.
Yeah. But. So then I wonder if they were like, if they came up with the idea of sending him to a new land, and they were like, well, if we're going to a new land, we need new items. Or if they came up with these new items.
Like, the fire flower is only going to exist in this, in this Super Mario Mushroom Kingdom land.
It's all, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall while they were fucking coming up with the ideas for this game.
But you know what's really good in this game is the music.
Dude,
the music is amazing in this
right?
game.
And that, like, for a launch title on what is, like, it's got to be the least powerful Nintendo console ever. Right, the original Game Boy.
Right.
Like I'm like, and I'm not trying to disparage it, but it is the least powerful,
unless you count like Game and Watch as like
sure, yeah. And I do to this day I can remember some of that music. Like,
it's great.
This is one of those games where I'm excited to like bring up. Some of that
opening
classic
theme for sure. Like, it's like that opening theme is forever ingrained in my head.
Very like. Fuck, man.
It's like 30-second loops. Like the music's amazing because it just loops in like 30-second loops, but you never get tired of hearing it.
Yeah.
Because it changes so often. Like, the game's so short that it changes so often.
Yeah.
What I did really like in the game too is the end levels. They didn't do just like the castle and the flag. You get the two options to either go low, or if you can do the jumping and platforming up to the second one, you can get the little bonus game to get lives or a power up. I really love that, and I always wonder why that never stuck around. Because for me, this was like, I had played the first Mario. My cousin owned an NES. I never owned an NES as a kid, and so I played Mario before I played anything else, and then got this Game Boy. So this was like my first like real Mario game that I had myself. So I didn't really know any of this stuff was out of the ordinary.
Right.
And so then when I get a Super Nintendo or like play Mario 3, I'm like, why did none of this continue on?
Yeah, I really like that because like the first couple levels, it was pretty easy to get up to that higher exit, right? But then later on, it almost became like a challenge or like a
when
puzzle.
They start
thing.
adding those little dropping blocks, because they're unforgiving. It's not like you land and they give you a second and then it wiggles and falls. No. It's like as soon as you touch it, it's falling. Yeah, you gotta hit it and jump to the next one.
And it's same as how Mario falls fast. Like those things fell fucking gone. Quick. But because you could get into that top door, and then you got to play that bonus game with like the ladders.
It's just the ladder randomizes and Mario randomizes, and then wherever he goes, if the ladder's on it, he'll go up or down it.
And then you could get like extra lives or like
1,
a flower
2, or 3
or
lives or a flower.
That was why the fuck? Why did I mean like every Mario game is done. The original Mario Brothers, it was obviously just for points with the flag. That's all it was. But then like Mario Brothers 3 had the flip cards, where you had to stop that box. And in Super Mario World had the goalposts, where you had to get you could get 100 stars. Like so they've always tried to put some little thing at the end of every level, but like why not a puzzle like that? That was such a phenomenal idea. Like
the closest thing it feels like is those like bonus levels in Super Mario World where you have to hit the 3 boxes in the sequence to get the lives each time.
Right.
That's like the closest thing that it feels like.
Yeah. Very odd to me that they never brought that back. So that's a great idea. It'd be cool to see them remake this game now.
Yeah.
But I guess for the amount of money they would have to put in. Like, it's not a long game. Like you said, would you beat it in
40
today?
minutes, an hour, like if that. Yeah.
It's funny to think now that like as a kid you were like, I can't beat this.
Yeah.
And now it's like, imagine whining to your parents to get you a Game Boy. They get you a Game Boy for a cross Canada trip and buy you Mario Land. They're like, this is your game, Patrick, for the drive. Yeah. And before you're out of town, you've beaten it. Yeah.
We're not even out of the province yet.
That's what happened to me with Kirby's Dream Land. And to this day, I'm soured a little bit on Kirby.
Man, I always felt like that game was, because that was another game I had early on too. And that's one that I really love. And I feel like that's a long game, but it's been years since I've played it.
It's not so much the length as it's just so insanely easy. I like as a kid, I've told this story before. It's the first game I bought with my own money.
Right.
Was Kirby's Dream Land, and I seriously beat it the night I bought it as a little kid.
Wow.
And I remember like being so mad because I was like, I spent all my money on this and it's over.
It's crazy that game was the first Kirby game that I played, and to this day it's my favorite. Like I've been playing like some of the later Kirby's like in the Super Nintendo, and I don't like them as much because I like the simplicity of like how small and simple that other Kirby game felt, and like the universe of it was really exciting and interesting to me. Like before the power-ups and like it was just like simple mechanics. But I remember it being so like intense and long.
I feel bad for Kirby now because I mean it's obviously Nintendo's like kiddie franchise now, right? But like Kirby's Adventure on the NES is a great game and it's worth playing. I promise you, if you're listening to this, play Kirby's Adventure. Kirby Superstar on a Super Nintendo, that compilation pack, it's pretty good. And Kirby's Dream Land's a fucking great game. It's just very simple. Like it was just frustrating to me. And so many of these games, like I could not believe when I fucking looked up Super Mario Land and saw that it was 12 levels. I was like, what?
Right? As a kid, the furthest I probably made was to the third level.
Right.
Like I distinctly always remembered those like Easter Island heads, but I don't recall like the vampire ninja things in the fourth one.
Like Super Mario Bros, like the original Super Mario Bros is 32 levels.
Right.
This one is
I mean,
I get that it's got system limitations. I get it, but still like 12 level and then you could play through it again and it was harder and like stuff like that, right? You know what? To me, what's crazy about this game, and I just made a note about it, and I thought of it after you brought up how good the music is, and I think this is what has made Nintendo. There's two things to me that have made Nintendo over the last 30 plus years, and the first is their IP. Things like they've got the most valuable IP in gaming, no question. The second thing is that like Sony and Microsoft and I mean Sega did, but like a lot of these companies don't make games for their own hardware. Like they make their hardware and then they get developers to make their. Do you know what I mean?
Third-party developers.
Whereas Nintendo and like they did it with the original NES, they did it with the Game Boy with this game and 100 others. They would be a phenomenal game developer on their if they were just a third-party game developer, they would be one of the most respected in the business, right? But they also make this hardware, and nobody knows how to get more out of their hardware than Nintendo does. Yeah. And this is a perfect example of it. And it's just mind-boggling. Like, obviously, if you played Super Mario Land today and you've never played any of them, like if I gave a Game Boy, if I borrowed your Game Boy and gave it to my 12-year-old nephew with Super Mario Land, he'd be like, this sucks. Yeah. And I'd be like, yeah, it kind of does. But it didn't back then. It was mind-blowing back then. Yeah. I'd be very curious to know if we would be harder on this game today if it hadn't been a launch title and we had seen somebody do something better with the Game Boy first, and then that came out.
Because this game was loved across the board. Like if you look at reviews from that time, it's like 92s to 98s. Like it's the only complaint is the length. Right. Saying. But you know what? For a system that's the first portable system big like this, maybe they wanted a game that like wasn't intensive. You didn't have to put hours and hours into. You could literally turn it on, play a few levels on the bus. You still feel like playing it today kind of gave me a new love for it again, because it's like it is so short that I'm like I could take this and play this while I'm waiting for a movie at the theater. Yeah, and like I could beat through the whole thing. Yeah, if I have a half an hour, 40-minute block, like I'm gonna beat a chunk of it, right? And it's just going to keep me entertained, because the game is never not going to be fun. Even if I like I'll probably play it again within the next week, just because I enjoyed playing it today. Right.
Well, and like because there's no save. Like I mean, obviously this was before like battery saves, or there's no password. Like there's nothing. You beat like once you turn the Game Boy off, it's over. Yeah. And I wonder if that was part of their thought process too. Was just like this thing is going to be portable. You're going to have kids that are out playing it that don't have more batteries. and then they freak out. You know what I mean? Like it's got to
Yeah.
be something you could beat in a sitting, realistically, right? And obviously today, like the idea of a portable game that is a sitting long, you'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But back then,
Yeah.
maybe that was part, because even Super Mario Land 2, I believe, had save
Oh yeah,
points.
absolutely. Yeah, it
right?
was. It did have battery saves.
But
yeah.
this one, yeah, and you know what? Maybe part of their thought process too was you get businessmen and stuff that are buying a Game Boy to play Tetris, and
Yeah.
maybe this is their intro. So you're
Yeah.
right. Maybe that was part of the
And
logic.
so each playthrough is fresh, and then that extends the life of the game. Because if I had save spots, like I probably would have been done with this game as a kid much earlier than I was.
That's interesting, man. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it's ugly, but it's got a retro charm to it.
Beautiful, ugly. Yeah.
The music is really fucking good.
I enjoyed every minute that I was playing it today. Like there was no part where I was like, the graphics. The only thing is the movement. Like I don't know if it's like the frame rate, whatever it is a bit hard to focus when you're running.
Right.
But I find that with a lot of Game Boy games, and because I play it so much, it really doesn't bother me. My eyes pretty much adjusted to it. But playing on like an OG unmodified Game Boy, this one's very tough.
Yeah, I believe that.
But I mean, it didn't feel that way as a kid.
No, we didn't have anything better.
No.
So it's fascinating to me when I think of, because like Mario's my favorite. I love Mario games.
Yeah.
But like I've thought about doing an episode of this where I just rank all of the Mario platformers.
Right.
But you know what's weird to me, man, is like I think of Super Mario Land 2. I don't even think of this game. Like I think of the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES. I think of every other Mario game, but like for some reason I think of Mario Land 2, which I never owned as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's the Game Boy Mario game.
Yeah.
I forget. It's almost like this is like a
prequel
tech
I think
demo.
if I didn't have that intensive, intimate time with it, where it was like, this is the only thing keeping me entertained for a week of driving.
Right.
I would definitely feel that way. But it was the one I owned. 2 was the one my friends owned, and I was always like borrowing it, and so that one kind of defaults to the Game Boy Mario that I think of because I love that one so much. And
Right.
it's so good. But
Right.
the first one, when I think of my like memories of the Game Boy, I very distinctly when I first got it, I don't even remember like wanting or asking for a Game Boy. It was like my parents picked two of them up,
Right.
and just gave them to my brother and I. And here's a bunch of games.
Yeah.
And this would have been years after it had launched. So I don't know if these were like discounted games or like if these were budget titles at the time. Like
right.
But I mean, this game was like everything for that console for me.
Right. Dude, I'm glad, dude. When you and I were talking about what games we were going to cover for this session, when you mentioned Super Mario Land, I was like, fucking right.
Yeah.
Like like we've never covered the original Super Mario Bros. On this show, and eventually we will.
Yeah.
I'm saving that one. That's
Yeah.
a special game.
Yeah.
But when you mentioned this one, I was like, dude, that is, to me, this is just one of those, I don't even know if gem is the word. Because I don't know if I would call it a full-fledged gem. Like, to me, Super Mario Land 2 is a forgotten gem.
Right.
But Super Mario Land is just like, it's a very important flagship forgotten title.
See, I think the first one might be the forgotten gem because 2 is like the really loved good. Like they
Yeah.
nailed it down.
Yeah. I just, like, again, when I think of the Game Boy, even the launch of the Game Boy, I think Tetris. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
just,
for sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's always overshadowed by something.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. You know what? It got its moment in the sun. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, if we don't get a Game Boy Classic from Nintendo someday, which I'm not sold we're ever going to get, because I don't think that thing would.
No.
I think we could maybe see a Game Boy Advance Classic or something.
Yeah, especially with like the Switch now, like their portable system is gone, and nobody else is in the game doing it.
Yeah.
I can't really see them doing that.
I just can't imagine there's a huge market for Game Boy. Like, I would like to know what the sales numbers are, because I guarantee you, like on the 3DS Virtual Console, you could buy Game Boy games, and I guarantee you that the Pokemon games sold phenomenal, like Red, Blue, Yellow.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening,
Sure.
probably sold great.
all the titles that would be expensive to buy as cartridges.
Yeah.
now.
I bought Super Mario Land 2 and 3, like Wario Land or whatever
Yeah.
it's called, on my 3DS, but I never bought this one. I don't know if this one was available. I'm sure it was available.
Maybe.
I don't know. I can't imagine there's a ton of demand for. Like, I don't know if we'll ever see this game again. Like, this
No,
game
I
may
don't
be
think so.
lost in the.
I think it exists where it exists for people like me who still have that.
Yeah, it's literally is Super Mario Land and Mario Sunshine just locked in a fucking room together as the two forgotten Mario games that we're never gonna see again.
Yeah.
Which I hope I'm wrong about, particularly about Sunshine. But Nintendo is fucking Nintendo, and they never give us what we want.
Yeah.
So, dude, before we score this bad boy and shut this down, have you got any final thoughts on Super Mario Land?
No, I think we covered it all. Like everything I wanted to talk about, we did. The music's great. is fun. Like it holds for me. It's just such a special time in my life, such a very distinct time, like very vivid, and I very recall it, very very clearly. And that's what this game is to me.
If they, dude, if they just say they just put some color in it, like how they did with Link's Away. If you literally just put color in it,
I think it was one of the games that, because I saw a screenshot today actually from a modded Game Boy, and it did have some color, and it was Mario Land. So I don't know if you put in a Game Boy Color, if it is one of the titles that they upscaled a little bit.
Like, you can't tell me if they didn't drop that on Switch for $5, because I don't think people would pay more than $5 for a 12 level Mario game.
Even then, I think people would be hard pressed to
Right.
spend that money. This is like a 99-cent app on your phone game.
Well, you're right, it is, but we all know how Nintendo prices, and if it's got Mario in the title, you pay the Mario tax.
Yeah.
But I would pay $5 to have this on my Switch.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not doing scores out of 10 anymore. Out of 12 levels, how many? There we go. That's a good one. How many levels would you give Super Mario Land? That's a good one. I like that.
Out of level, man,
and I get that you've got the heartstrings.
Yeah.
I fucking understand that.
Like, it feels
entirely.
like a 12 out of 12 level game. Like, just playing it today was just like, I'm like, even just now talking about it again, I'm like so overjoyed that this game exists for this console.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I've maintained like still having a Game Boy and putting so much into like how much I love Game Boy games.
Mm-hmm.
Like this I think it's just like a 12 out of 12 level for me, man.
Right.
For this game, it's just like it's so perfect for its time and place in my life.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's so special that I couldn't, I can't let it go.
Before this podcast, I would have said, I don't know, like 6, like 6 out of 12. It was whatever, but like, and I get a lot of feedback from people that listen to the show saying how like they hear it, and then the way we talk about these games get them excited to want to go play these games.
I hope that happens with this.
Me too, because I feel like
hope
that
somebody
now.
has a Game Boy hidden away with this game and Tetris. I bet there's a lot of people that's the only two games they had for their system.
Yeah,
and they throw some batteries in it and they play through this game again because they heard this. I would be overjoyed if that happens.
Guaranteed. And if that does happen and you do that, please message me. I'll fucking make sure to share it with Patrick, and that would be fucking rad. I'll give it 9. I'll give it a 9, 9.5, 9.5 levels. Because it's fucking weird. It's a weird game.
Weird. It is definitely weird.
Good stuff. We need to show the Game Boy some more love on this show, and we will moving forward. Patrick, good job.
Thanks,
and
man.
You guys go play some Game Boy if you've got one. Otherwise, you're fucked. And that's going to do it for this week's episode, you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Patrick, thanks for coming over and talking Super Mario Land with me. A fucking blast from the past. Obviously we talk retro games, but I love it when we go like retro games. You guys, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, leave us a good review, please, somewhere. I don't know where you're listening to it. It doesn't matter. Just a good review. I'd really appreciate it. Follow us on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram at MemberTheGame or Facebook.com/RememberTheGame. We'd really appreciate the follow. We'll follow you back. We like talking to you and everything. And if you're feeling really crazy and you really want to support us, Patreon.com/RememberTheGame. You can win stuff. I'll say your name. You get extra shows. It's all that for $2. It's worth it, I promise. I'm going to be tweeting about it over the next couple of days. I want to see what you got for Black Friday, so please let me know. And all that said, an Xbox. I'm sorry. You guys already remember that passionate, heartfelt apology I gave them off the top. I'm happy to have you back in my life, Xbox. I'm glad we're friends again. You guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back in 7 days with episode 75 of Remember the Game. In the meantime, go play some video games. Happy Thanksgiving to all of my American listeners and whoever else celebrates Thanksgiving. I don't fucking know who does at this time of year, but go eat some food, play some video games, be thankful, and I'll talk to you in a week. Take it easy. Cheers.